A very good morning to you. Welcome to AM Live this Friday. And as is our custom, we get the youth perspective on, are we a prayerful nation or a prayerful nation? Well, I'll show you the difference in spelling when I open up my poster on my touch screen. But given that Azimio has planned a prayer meeting on Wednesday, and we also had prayers this week on account of hunger, I wonder what my panelists make of it as far as governance and administration is concerned. Azimio la Umoja One Kenya leader Raila Odinga has declared that the opposition, as I mentioned, will hold an interdenominational prayer service at Jivanji Gardens here in Nairobi on Wednesday next week. Odinga claims that this will form part of the ways to counter what he calls President William Ruto's hidden agenda to kill the opposition political parties and return the country, he says, into the dark days of dictatorship. My name is Olive Burrows, and with that report is Vincent Odor.
Thursday, Raila Odinga visited Jubilee Party headquarters moments after Jubilee Secretary General Jeremiah Kioni obtained an order from the political party's Dispute Resolution Tribunal restraining the Kanini Kega-led faction from taking over the leadership of the party after claiming to have suspended the Kioni team. Odinga claims President William Ruto is after killing the opposition political parties.
Kenya Kwanza administration has launched an all-out assault on our hard-won multi-party democracy. There's an all-out push by the Kenya Kwanza regime to kill other parties, buy and co-opt members of parliament into its ranks, and intimidate and bully all those that resist the administration's illegal, unconstitutional, and anti-democratic maneuvers.
And in stepping up pressure on President Ruto, Odinga has changed the venue for the prayers, despite initially declaring it will be held in front of IEBC offices in the city.
We will hold interdenominational prayers at the Jivanji Gardens on Wednesday, 22nd February 2023. Tumemwambia Bwana Ruto, wewe ni mwanafunzi wa Nyayo, na baba yako alijaribu na hakuweza. Hata wewe mwenyewe utajaribu na hutaweza.
Jubilee Party Secretary General Jeremiah Kioni has accused the Registrar of Political Parties, Anne Derito, of allowing a coup at the party through the back door.
Only the SG and the party leader can call the National Executive Committee.
And in the Senate, there was bitter exchange of words after Azimio senators accused Speaker Amason Kingi of playing a cat and mouse game with them in his efforts to avoid effecting the new leadership changes sanctioned by Azimio after kicking out Fatuma Dulo as minority whip, accusing her of double-crossing them with Kenya Kwanza.
Speaker wetu yuko nje safari kila wiki. Yaani akitoka safari hii, akifika airport, safari nyingine iko tayari, anarudi. Akitoka safari hii, mikoba yake iko airport. Kwa hivyo sisi tunasema kwamba hii ni njama ya kuua upinzani.
And we are now contemplating exercising our right understanding order number 60.
The Employment and Labor Relations Court stopped the Public Service Commission from advertising for the position of Chief Administrative Secretary after the Law Society of Kenya filed a petition contesting the post, saying it was unconstitutional and only served to bloat the public service at the expense of the taxpayer. But the same court has since rescinded its stand, this time in favor of the Public Service Commission, saying that the position is lawful. PSC will now advertise for the position of Chief Administrative Secretaries in the 22 ministries, with applicants being expected to be university graduates. This is not the first time the executive has faced resistance in the creation and appointment of chief administrative secretaries. In April 2021, the courts ruled that the position of CAS was unconstitutional, but retired President Uhuru Kenyatta went ahead to appoint the chief administrative secretaries. The office of the Chief Administrative Secretary deputizes the Cabinet Secretary and may answer questions regarding the ministry in the National Assembly or Senate. Bridget Ngana, NTV, Nakuru.
Bandits have defied the order to surrender illegal arms even as the 3-day ultimatum comes to an end. So far, no guns have been surrendered in most of the 6 counties that were declared disturbed and dangerous. Some of the areas in Baringo South that were affected continue to remain deserted, with residents living in fear of attacks. Ruth Stanwe remains on that beat from Baringo.
Our inspection into the anticipated security operation leads us to Baringo South, where we encounter the police escort an armored vehicle at Kasiela along the Chemorongion-Mochongoi Road. A few kilometers away, pupils have resumed at the Sinoni Primary School 3 days after a shootout between NPR officers and bandits that saw the school closed temporarily. NPR officers continue to man the school compound that has now received slightly above 100 pupils. Outside the school compound, we meet women trekking approximately 10 kilometers each day as they search for food and water.
Masiwa hakuna, mahindi hatuna, na mbuzi hakuna tena, hata ng'ombe, na maji tena hakuna. Sasa je, simtusaidia hata chakula hata angalau, na tupate security ya kutosha.
The area between Center 1, which is where we are, and Sinoni village is 3 kilometers apart and have remained deserted after residents fled their homes due to fear. Most of them arrive these villages in the morning in search of food and water and return to areas which are deemed safe in the evening. They say they have spotted the bandits roaming around in the neighboring hills.
Sisi tuliama kwa huko Seretion, tukahamia hapa Lumulel, na mchana tunaenda kutafuta huko chakula huko Seretion, na jioni tunarudi. Ndio hata tuangalau tulale kwa hata tupate usingizi kidogo.
Hii milima ya Karkarun, Tandar, Ngelecha, Loromoru, Ramacha, bandit imejaa.
Displaced residents express their frustrations on the unending menace.
Akiwenda sisi kwa nchi yetu tutaenda wapi? Ukikaa nyumba anakuja kukutoa. Ukitoroka anakuja kutoa nguo, anachukua mahindi, anachukua certificate yote ya watoto yetu, ameharibu na kuchoma manyumba. Kwani ni shetani ama ni mtu?
They however convey their expectations of the upcoming operation this Friday.
Hii operation kabla wajaingia pale kwa wajambazi, wahakikishe usalama ya waraia kwanza.
Tunaambiwa hata wamekuja lakini hatujaiona. Hata saizi watu bado wako na hofu. Hata walifungua shule sababu county commissioner alisemekana atakuja hapa, lakini bado maisha si mzuri. Hakuna kusema uongo, kusema hali ya usalama iko sawa. Bado ni mbaya.
I just want the government to take it in a serious note that bandits are really bad people here. So they need to use at least an elevated kind of mechanism to flush out those bandits.
On our way back, we meet 2 vehicles ferrying KDF officers after a contingent of police officers was seen arriving on Wednesday evening. According to Baringo County Commissioner Abdirazak Jaldesa, residents are yet to surrender illegal arms in Baringo County. Police in Turkana County have, however, recovered 3 guns from bandits during a raid. Ruth Sarmoi, NTV, Baringo.
The opposition side of the political divide has continued to raise concerns over the deployment of the military to take part in a joint security operation in North Rift Valley. Azimio leader Raila Odinga questions the deployment without the express approval of Parliament as required by law. This begs the question, deal with the emergency as you wait for the legal approvals or follow the law to the letter. NTV's Leila Mohammed interrogates.
Before the ink had dried on a special issue of Gazette Notice number 34 on the 13th of February 2023, stating that KDF troops would join forces with the officers from the National Police Service under the command of the Inspector General of Police, troops were already on their way into the Kerio Valley Belt, landing first in Eastern Baringo in Tiaty constituency.
The bandits, criminals, to gain courage and start injuring, shooting, maiming our officers.
The Commander-in-Chief, while making that order, had stated that the complexities of matters at hand and the coordinated attacks on police officers by bandits was the major reason to call in the military to support the police in a multi-agency combat against banditry.
Are under serious threat. You have seen the military being deployed in the north without the authority of Parliament as prescribed in our Constitution.
In a statement earlier in the week, Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki stated that due to the nature of deployment, where the troops would operate under the command of the Inspector General, it wasn't necessary to go through the paces of a parliamentary approval to deploy KDF boots on the ground. Kindiki argued that when engaging in a multi-agency mission, the August House only needed notification and frequent reports on the status of the mission.
Wale watu wajeuri wachache wako pale wanajaribu kutuonyesha jeuri, tutapimana na wao na tutahakikisha kwamba hakuna Mkenya anapoteza maisha yake.
In case an internal security matter gets out of hand, the Commander-in-Chief is guided by Article 33 of the KDF Act, which allows for such deployment of troops in situations of emergency or disaster.
It's clear that nobody can deploy the military without the express authority of Parliament.
The Act also gives guidelines on how the operation will be conducted. It states that such a deployment shall comply with constitutional standards relating to human rights and fundamental freedoms, with the Cabinet Secretary expected within 24 hours to issue a notice in the Gazette of the commencement of such deployment.
They have the numbers, they have the resources. It's an issue of continuous engagement and commitment.
In the case of ending the operation, the CS shall again also within 24 hours issue notice in the Gazette of the discontinuation of the deployment. The CS is expected to report to the National Assembly on the deployment, which the chair of the National Assembly Committee on Defence and Foreign Relations earlier in the week acknowledged being in receipt of that communication.
Mimi nataka niwahakikishie hawa watu wachache hatuwezi kuwakubalia waharibu amani ya wananchi wa taifa letu la Kenya.
The Act specifically dictates that the deployment may only be performed in such an area or at such a place that the National Security Council may determine. The KDF Act also states that such a deployment shall be performed in accordance with the Code of Conduct and operational procedures on the regulation of KDF support operations approved by the Defence Council. It would also be guided by a joint operation plan and guidelines issued by the Chief of Defence Forces of the KDF and the Inspector General of the National Police Service regarding cooperation between the forces and coordination of command over and control of KDF and NPS officers during the operation.
People of this region have no option. They must learn to coexist.
KDF officers will not have the power and duty to investigate civilian-based criminal acts, with the Act guiding KDF officers who have arrested criminals or detained any person or seized any article or object that as soon as possible they shall hand that person, article or object over to the National Police Service or any other appropriate functionary designated by the relevant law. Leila Mohammed, NTV.
All right, and on that note, let's take a look at the news diary before we get into the dailies. And President William Ruto is in Ethiopia for the African Union Summit. The Law Society of Kenya is holding an inaugural prayer breakfast in Nairobi, and the government to kick off disarmament in the north. That is after the 3-day amnesty, that is arms surrender amnesty, timed out last night. All right, let's take a look at the dailies, and front page of the Daily Nation. Ruto, they tell us, corners Uhuru How is that? Ousted Jubilee officials win reprieve as tribunal suspends removal. Payback. Former President Uhuru Kenyatta isn't sitting pretty. A faction of his Jubilee party that topples, let me zoom out so that we can get a clearer image there. And a faction of his Jubilee party that toppled his allies has given him an ultimatum that he either gives in to their demands to exit Azimio and work with his successor, President William Ruto, or they kick him out. Will they succeed? What next for Uhuru? So that is the front page of the Daily Nation. I see that they've also sought to explain the genesis. The unraveling Jubilee coup is a reminder of the developments in the previous government when President Kenyatta's camp hounded the side allied to Deputy President William Ruto, forcing them to flee the United Democratic Alliance. And then I see also here jobs galore as court rules in favor of CAS positions. President William Ruto is now free to constitute his expanded executive with appointments of chief administrative secretaries, a post his predecessor Uhuru Kenyatta created to reward loyalists and which he has retained to share out among his many allies. Most of the election losers yet to secure appointments in the Kenya Kwanza administration are eyeing dozens of positions that will be up for grabs across ministries. And another story on the front page here, sniper's bullet who wanted her dead. Mary Lilian Waithera Gathenya, 46, left her workplace at the National Health Insurance Fund offices at Upper Hill with a colleague at 5 p.m. on Monday and would be dead within the hour in the city center. And there a timeline of her last moments. But given the question we're asking this morning is, are we a praying nation or a praying nation? Preying. I'd like to invite my panelists to weigh in on what's happening in the Jubilee Party. In fact, one of the gentlemen with me in studio is a member of said party, but I will first introduce Joe Halende, a lawyer. Good to have you in studio this morning.
Yes, I'm happy to be here.
All right, and we also have none other than John Chege.
Joseph Chege.
Joseph Chege, I beg your pardon.
Yes.
Karibu sana.
Thank you.
He is a youth leader at Azimio, and you also happen to be a member of Jubilee.
The original Jubilee.
The original?
Yeah.
Which one is the original?
The Uhuru Jeremiah Kioni Jubilee.
The Uhuru Jeremiah Kioni Jubilee. Yesterday, I saw Raila Odinga lead Martha Karua, Kalonzo Musyoka, and they went and stormed the Jubilee headquarters, where police had been called in the day before, now to evict the original Jubilee. So what's happening? I know the tribunal has set aside the Office of Political Parties pronouncement that there has been a change of leadership. But let's start with this headline. Why don't we? What do you make of it? Has Ruto cornered Uhuru? Is it payback time?
First, I want to say this, that any Kenyan waking up today to see such news will be very disappointed, because they never voted Ruto to come and start vengeance with anybody. Kenyans right now, they are going through a lot. Depression, hunger, diseases. We had an outbreak, cholera and something. Bandits. Kenyans waking up today, they want to see headlines like Ruto corners bandits. Ruto corners the high cost of living. But Ruto corners Uhuru. 15% of his term, the 5-year term, has gone. 8 months. And what we have is prayers and cornering some individuals. We had him cornering Matiang'i. Now it's Uhuru. Who knows, next week, who will he be cornering? I think it's a sad state for our country. We have such a president.
All right, Wakili.
Yes.
I'm just trying to pull up the poster here. As I do so, we've been told by Joseph that what he wants to read is Ruto corners cost of living and Ruto corners banditry.
Yes.
He's not interested in reading about Ruto corners Uhuru.
You see, the topic actually reminds me of Justin Timberlake's song, "What goes around comes around." And I think what is happening here within Jubilee, it is what we have persistently been seeing, politics of deceit. The original Jubilee that Mr. Joseph is talking about, we all know the original Jubilee is that of William Ruto and Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. And after the handshake, we know what transpired in Jubilee. The purge around Jubilee, when members were being kicked out of Jubilee, when Murkomen, Susan Kihika, Professor Kindike were being kicked out of position in Jubilee. And we remember very well the so-called Tanga Tanga living in protests and forming UDA. And at one point, those who formed UDA said that those who remained in Jubilee, they have remained in Jubilee because at then President Uhuru Kenyatta was using force and using DCI to threaten politicians. Now today, the 34 elected members of parliament, both Senate and the National Assembly, have left Jubilee and they are willing to work with Kenya Kwanza. So it's a day where we are saying that Kioni and Uhuru are left partyless, and I think the way he declared in Kisumu that his party leader is Raila Amolo Odinga, very soon we are going to see Uhuru registering as an ODM member.
Interesting that. I'm curious also to hear what my other two panelists have to say on the front page story. Daily Nation, has Ruto cornered Uhuru with regard to Jubilee? Is it a payback time? Now that my full panel is unpaneled, let me introduce them. We've already introduced you to Joe Halende and Joseph Chege, who is a youth leader Azimio. Joel is a wakili and a lawyer. And we also have Dennis Mbanda. Dennis, they misspelled your name here. Dennis Mbamba. Mbamda. But it's Dennis Mbanda, political analyst. They just stopped the N for an M. I do apologize for that. We have Alpha Captain. I'm a captain. Maura youth leader Kenya Kwanza. Are you an actual captain?
Yes,
captain?
I'm an actual captain. Yes.
As in pilot captain?
No. I'm not. In aviation, I'm a beginner.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But this is knighted under chess. The game of chess. In the game of chess? Yeah. You're captain? Yeah, full captain. I know about rooks and kings and queens. We are going to discuss that in the Ruto corners Uhuru thing. All right. In the game of chess. Okay, I'll start with Dennis. Dennis, what do you make of the front page story on the Daily Nation? Has President William Ruto cornered his predecessor?
Ruto has not cornered anybody. In fact, it is a travesty in our Kenyan democracy that political parties, as enshrined in the Constitution, it's unfortunate that political parties are just vehicles of political elections. And once elections are done, basically the political parties are also done. If you look at the amount of money that is allocated to political parties every fiscal year, close to 1.4 billion taxpayers' money, it baffles you to see a situation where in this dispensation that Mr. Ruto wants to achieve a supermajority in parliament, meaning that the executive wants to have a total say in the National Assembly and what goes around in the assembly. So Ruto has not cornered anybody. I know he's playing politics to ensure that all the MPs will be able to pass his bills, and we know the pending bills that he wants to introduce to the parliament. But you saw yesterday Raila Amolo Odinga went to Jubilee Party to ensure that everything is in place. So we only hope and appeal to the conscience of William Ruto that he should not interfere with the independence of political parties. Yes. All right. Is your party leader bitter, Alpha?
Not bitter at all. He's just doing his thing. He's our party leader, and he has to organize all of us. And we all know that government business is conducted through parliament. So any hindrances, any obstructions have to be cleared, and we have to get that super majority that you're talking about. We are not weakening the opposition. What we are doing, we are actually claiming what was rightfully ours, but tuliachilia tu pole pole because there was a lot of noise back then. In the game of chess, this is what now we call Ruto has actually told the fourth president, check, before the checkmate. The checkmate will be the takeover, the official takeover, because it's coming. Yeah.
All right. I see Dennis is squinting. But Dennis, let's take a look at. We'll come back to that. We'll come back to that. Business Daily front page story. Politician to seize NBK's 2.5 billion shillings in Central Bank. The award is more than 3 times the bank profit. Mr. Critico's land was undervalued in 2007 auction. That report by Sam Kiplagat. And looking just at the first paragraph, the High Court yesterday allowed former MP Basil Criticos to seize cash and government bonds at the Central Bank of Kenya belonging to the National Bank of Kenya over unpaid 2.57 billion shillings compensation. Justice Dora Chepkwony gave the seizure order after the politician convinced the court that the lender had refused to pay the billions in breach of judge's orders. More on that on the Business Daily. I see finance, under finance, AFDB gives funding for 4-lane Kisumu-Uganda Expressway. And on the ticker, Treasury to cap spending at 75% of revenue growth rate. The Treasury will now cap expenditure growth at 75% of Kenya's revenue growth rate as the government plots to improve the exchequer's chance at fiscal consolidation. Tax refunds hit 316 billion shillings despite removal of reliefs. Tax refunds increased to 316 billion shillings in the financial year ending in June 2021, despite spirited efforts by the National Treasury to reduce claims by getting rid of unnecessary waivers. And EABL loses 2 billion shilling Senator Keg tax relief in 3 years. The tax relief that East African Breweries enjoys on its low-end beer brand, Senator, has dropped by 23.8 billion shillings in 3 years after the government cut the incentive. Front page of the Taifa Leo, always a treat. Let me zoom in. And I see it reads, hapa ushindi tu, Ruto hupata kila atakalo, si ushindi wa kura, si kushinda kesi. Sasa koti ya mruhusu kuteua mawaziri. Manaibu waziri, au CAS, tunavyowajua. And it continues, kinaya, taasisi huru kama vile ofisi ya mkurugenzi wa mashtaka, ODPP, mamlaka ya kutwaa mali za wizi, ARA, tume ya kupambana na ufisadi EACC, msajili wa vyama vya kisiasa ORPP na idara ya mahakama zatoa maamuzi yanayoonekana kumfaa kiongozi wa nchi. Wakili, what do you make of the court decision that now clears the way for President William Ruto to appoint CASs?
It's good that the Ruto administration is living to its promises that it will live according to the rule of law. That's what they promised us. And immediately he was sworn in power, he did not hurry to appoint the CAS as in the way we saw it with the Jubilee government, because the Okiya Omtatah's case, we saw that Uhuru's government did not follow the due process. So William Ruto has been very patient and he has allowed the due process to take place. And you could see the public service released a memo advertising for any individual to go and give his memorandum to see if the position of CAS can be enacted and can be put in place. We saw the timelines were given, the advertisement was given. LSK went to court and they were heard and the verdict was given. So it is within now Ruto's mandate to give us the names of those people he prefers to serve in his government.
All right, Joseph, what do you make of the order of events, the fact that these positions were advertised and people invited to apply prior to this court judgment?
As you were saying there, you said hapa ushindi tu. What Ruto is doing, everything is going okay. And as we are talking to Kenyans, I want to understand which Kenyan in his home right now is so much concerned that some people are going to be appointed in some offices doing nothing, which is going to add to the wage bill of our country. When these people are doing their campaign, they said for them, si cheo. Ni uchumi kwanza na mwananchi. I said again, we are 8 months down the line. Tell me one single thing Mama Mboga has been done in this government. Right now, there are people who are going to be appointed in the office, and not the CAS alone, CAS alone. They will come a fully functioning office, which is going to drone the small taxes you are going to save and take this country forward. The reason Ruto was not in a hurry to appoint them when he came into office, because he was buying time so that his followers can forget what he had assured them before, that when he came into office, he will not be about any position. He said that before, but when he came into position, the first thing, he created a prime minister position, which was not there. And he had told his people that we are not going to create any other position. Right now, as he's going to appoint those CASs. He's already suggesting that the parliament should make haste in creating an office of opposition leader, which himself, Baba, does not want it. But he wanted to be created. The same thing he was telling his followers. You know, let us be honest. Right now, what we wanted to have seen from William Ruto is a well-laid structure, a well-laid plan on how Kenya is going forward and the hope to the common mwananchi. I've told you, if you look at the newspaper from page 1 to the last, there is no hope for the common mwananchi. That's why I told you, why should I be discussing Ruto cornering Uhuru? A vengeance where Mama Mboga does not even understand where the next meal will come from. Why should I be discussing some reject politicians, how they are going to get positions when we have police officers being killed in banditry areas? It's a shame that our country, as a young person, from all corners of this country, there is no hope going forward that we thought Mama Mboga was the priority. He's not priority anymore. The people who will be given those positions, I want you to call us here one day and tell us this person was Mama Mboga in Githurai, this person was a border rider. All the positions have been given out. Tell me one Mama Mboga has been given those positions. So even this one is just Ruto dilly-dallying so that he can buy time, and with no matter of time, he will have done nothing.
All right. But Dennis, your party member, former President Uhuru Kenyatta, is the one who created this position of CAS.
Yes.
Yes. So do you have a problem with it now?
Totally. When Ruto, when former President Uhuru created the positions in 2018, clearly it was unconstitutional. These positions are not enshrined in the Katiba. So when he created the position of CAS, it was to reward his cronies, and that is the truth. So we should not be able to support this because Uhuru Kenyatta is the chairperson of Azimio.
Is he still?
He's still the chairperson of Azimio.
Uh-huh.
And as such, Mr. Ruto says that he'll be able to follow Katiba to the latter. And now, creation of CAS, you look at immediately the Public Service Commission announced the vacancy in the positions. More than 4,000 Kenyans applied for the positions. And when LSK filed a petition, the courts stopped it. And it's unfortunate now that the president is talking about increase of taxes to ensure that he finances his expensive campaign promises. Look at the current budget financial statement, rather policy, draft policy. The next financial year, the budget will be about 3.6 trillion. Meaning, and look at what the government is able to collect between July and December. It's short of 1 billion. Rather 900 billion, 900 and something billion, short of 1 trillion. Meaning already as it stands, we have there will be a budget deficit of close to 900 billion. And the government is already saying they will be able to borrow about 700 billion to ensure that they catch up to the budget deficit. It's unfortunate that Mr. Ruto talks about cutting government expenses. And also now we want to reintroduce rather the CS positions that is going to weigh down on the taxpayers. So we do not support it. It's unfortunate that Mr. William Ruto is going against the constitution.
All right.
Yes.
Captain, kwanza niko na maswali nyingi with regard to hapo ushindi tu, but let me start with the one on CASs. Joseph anasema hawa sasa ataenda tu kwa ofisi wa kunywe chai. And you are the same people who promised us that when you get into office, unlike Azimio, you're not interested in expanding the executive. Have you been speaking? Are you speaking from both sides of the mouth?
Let me first say something to my colleague Dennis. Uhuru has never been a chairperson for Jubilee. He has been the party leader. There is a chairperson.
No, he's talking about Azimio.
No. You talked about the fourth president being a chairperson. He's never been a chairperson.
A chair of Azimio.
Or Azimio?
Yes.
Ah, okay.
Yes,
okay.
yes.
Yeah. For Azimio, we are on the same page. Okay. Now, with the CAS's position, the truth of the matter, which Azimio does not want to admit, you know, in Jubilee there is the pro-Azimio and the pro-government side, or the pro-Kenya Kwanza side. They are split in between, but we will see how it unfolds. We already seeing.
No, on the question of the position of CAS.
Yes, I'm getting to that.
Yes.
The CAS's position.
Yes.
That's why we are having.
Kenya. I mean, did President William Ruto ali to enjoy?
No. I just enjoy. In fact, what he's done, he's now doing it within the constitution. Before it had been ruled it is unconstitutional as it was set up by the fourth president. Right now it has gone through the Public Service Commission for it to be ratified, and the court has ruled that it is in order what the government has done. And let us remember that His Excellency William Samoei Ruto, as the head of government, is supposed to structure and restructure government the way he feels that it will deliver on the promises that he gave to Kenyans.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. And so we need to take up, Dennis, we'll come back. Let me take a break. But also when we come back, ulituambia mnataka super majority kwenye bunge ndo mpitishe what is nisaidie wakili. What is legislation ndo mpitishe miswada yenu bila tashwishwi. Are you doing the same with these other independent, or what we expect to be independent institutions, in order to pursue your agenda on the other side of this break?
Realized that because of you, my son is being accused of very ugly things.
I am sorry, ma'am, but I didn't have anything to do with that. I only came here to speak with Mickey.
Marissa, what are you doing here?
I came over because I was worried.
Okay, come inside then. Let's talk here.
No.
I'm pretty sure your godmother hates me now, am I right?
She'll get over it for sure. Oh, hey, by the way, I told Mickey about what happened. And he said we should go see a doctor just to be careful.
Did you tell Mickey?
It had to be you.
Grow your biashara by accessing loans, investment options, convenient banking, network opportunities, and so much more. Njoo tukujenge. Visit any one of our 93 branches countrywide. Family Bank is regulated by the Central Bank of Kenya.
When it comes to our skin, we all have a common goal, and that is to have an even skin tone, a bright and a healthy glow.
So eye pigmentation is skin discoloration, which is caused by different factors. If you use too harsh products on your skin, then repeatedly, and then you expose yourself to the sun, then you get hyperpigmentation.
A friend of mine advised me to get a cream because I had them on my forehead and the cheeks as well. I went ahead and got the cream.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that is when
I want to warn everyone.
Yes.
The people who are selling creams it doesn't have a name, doesn't have ingredient, it doesn't have nothing. You have to love yourself not to use a cream without any label.
protect our family from germs that cause illness when it's cold, we use Dettol soap.
Dettol soap with germ defense gives you protection. When it's cold, germs are transferred in different ways, and Dettol soap's germ defense protects you from up to 100 illness-causing germs. Be Dettol sure.
Unlock limitless potential for your business with Nation Digital Summit, where connections, partnerships, and networking with industry leaders can take your company to new heights. This year, don't miss out on the opportunity to engage, learn, and connect with a global audience as we explore the opportunities around enhancing Africa's digital transformation. Book your slot today for the Nation Digital Summit happening on the 22nd to the 24th of February at the Sarova White Sands in Mombasa County.
Hiyo agenda tumemaliza, sasa tumeni pesa. Asante. Bado mtu mmoja sasa.
Nimekosa 6 bob ya transaction. Patient, saidi na 6 bob. 6 bob ni pesa kunyima mtu kweli?
Ingia hiyo chama ya 6 bob basi.
Bro, unachoma. Uda. Badala kachuma feelings hapa. Make changu smarter. Vuka tu Airtel Money. Aje janjes.
Dial *334#. Set your 4-digit PIN and confirm. Set your security question. Airtel Money is now activated. Sasa uko set.
You tume Airtel to Airtel for free.
Welcome back to AM Live. I'm joined in a studio by Wakili Joe Halende. We'll have Joseph Chege as Mio Youth Leader. We have Dennis Mbanda, political analyst. And we also have in studio Alpha Captain Mora. Karibuni sana. He is a Kenya Kwanza leader. And I had sought to corner him as it is alleged Ruto has cornered Uhuru. With the question, in pushing through your agenda, have you compromised these independent institutions?
Not at all. Remember that for Parliament, that is purely political, and he is our leader. He's able to organize government as he suits. He has a majority leader who is very able, Kimani Ichung'wah, and the rest of the leadership. So we are able to push through some of these things. Number two, we have the Attorney General who is advising on the legal framework and everything else that needs to be done according to the Constitution, so that we do not find ourselves where we found ourselves in the last 5 years, whereby most of the government decisions were either stopped by court or ruled unconstitutional. So for the rest of the independent bodies, we are not interfering with them.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Joe, let me
say something on that, on the issue about Parliament and the supermajority by Kenya Kwanza. You see, in our government structure is that we have the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary, whereby each arms of the government, they need to offer checks and balance to the other one. If the executive tends to form a supermajority in Parliament, it is for the benefit of ensuring that government policies and government agenda in Parliament are passed. But one thing that we need to know as a country is that in our parliament, we have the minority and the majority. And always the minority will have their say, which means the way we do our politics, we do not have per se official opposition, but we have the minority and the majority. And going forward, doing our politics, we can do the bipartisan way, or the partisan, the bilateral way, or the partisan way. So, by Kenya Kwanza having to convince, or the Jubilee side wishing to work with the Kenya Kwanza, there is no problem. Where, as a person, Joe Halenda, I have a problem, is that the Jubilee members, so long as they move from one side of the floor of the house to the other side, they need to leave the position, like the minority whip position, they need to leave it to the minority side. There's no way you can have a cake and eat it. If the Sabina Cheges, the Senator Dulo, they need to leave the positions for the Azimio, so that they can join Kenya Kwanza side fully and operate as the majority in the house.
All right, Dennis,
yes,
you want to comment on that before I move on?
Yes, please. I think we need to understand the role of legislation, the role of legislature in Parliament. It's oversight, legislation, and representation. And the function of members of Parliament, according to the 2010 Constitution, majorly is supposed to keep the government on check, to oversight the government of the day. The 2010 Constitution did not envisage a position of opposition leader, and it is incumbent upon members of Parliament to ensure that they put government in check. Even this, even the budget, the budget goes through the Parliament. So look at 2022. Immediately when the election was concluded, Kenya Kwanza government had about 164 members of Parliament, and Azimio had about 178 members of Parliament. And you remember during the when there was discussions about the people with the majority in Parliament, there was a lot of contention because Azimio had the majority. And immediately you saw the president move very swiftly and would members of the independent, we had 12 independent members who were elected, and quickly he took about 10 of them, and that has happened progressively. So here what we are talking about is that members of Parliament should remain, their primary function should be legislation, and supporting the president bid, that is total interference of executive with the Parliament.
All right.
Yes.
And what about this other part here, right? Because if I'm to translate the Taifa Leo headline, what I hear is, all I do is win, 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 no matter what. You know the song?
Yes.
Yes. So here they talk about Jubilee securing those orders from the, the blessing of the ORPP to change its leadership, which favors President William Ruto. They mention the cases that have been withdrawn by the ODPP. They say even which other agency do they reference here? The ARA, the EACC. You know, hapa ushindi, two things just seem to be going his way. Joseph, is it that, in your view, is there anything suspicious here? Is it just fortunate? Are these institutions, to your mind, afraid of retribution? Wanapima kwanza temperature ya maji au ni nini?
First, I want to say this, that maybe our colleagues can help us to know if it's these are results of their prayers, the prayer meeting they have been doing in the country. Because what Ruto is doing is muzzling all the institutions that can check on him. We saw the other day that the DPP almost dropped off all the corruption cases, that people, even Mama Mbogo on the street, knew this person had these corruption cases. All of them were dropped. Lack of evidence. Together. So, Ruto going to Jubilee to wrestle with President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. It's not about the supermajority or anything like that. It's about vengeance. Ruto is the person who came to office to be a president, not to transform lives of Kenyans, but to show them I'm the president. I can do what I want within institutions. I have the money, I have the taxes, I can use it the way I want. So there's nothing like win-win for William Samoei Ruto. He is a man who is on a mission to make sure there is no institution that even will question him whenever he does anything for this country. We saw yesterday our Azimio leader, Raila Amolo Odinga, People's President, saying that even the military going to northern Kenya, it was unconstitutional because for military to be engaged in local activities, the parliament must debate about it. But what is the parliament doing? What is William Ruto doing? Yesterday he was meeting the members of NEC. The first NEC meeting for Jubilee Party happened in State House. It is so shameful that we expected the first meeting to lower the cost of living happening in State House.
Wait, the first
NEC meeting for Jubilee happened in State House yesterday. We have all the information. That is where they were getting brief from President William Samoei Ruto on how they are going to take over Jubilee Party. What I'm telling you are facts. This is a president who doesn't care that he promised anything to Mama Mboga. And I want you to go to everything that you have said, ushindi, ushindi, ushindi. And tell me one thing that Mama Mboga can pride in that William Ruto has won for the cost of the living, for the bandits, for the unemployment, and have told you, Kenya, we go like this in the next 1 year. We are staring at a hopeless nation because the people themselves have lost hope with William Samoei Ruto. Because these are not things that Kenyans voted him to do.
Not, you can't speak for all Kenyans. And Joy, I know you want to jump in, but are Dennis and Joseph, are they just suffering from sour grapes? Is it that Ruto is a master tactician and they have been unable to use an analogy that was brought to the floor of this house by Captain? They have been unable to checkmate William Ruto.
What I want to differ with my good friend here and tell him that first and foremost, I think we are Kenyans and we live in this country. So far, the Kenya Kwanza government can tell you within the 100 days or within the 6 months that have been in power, William Ruto has managed to deliver the Hustler Fund that he promised the Mama Mboga. 3 things or 3 interventions that the Kenya Kwanza government has done to lower the cost of living. One is to remove the subsidies that their government was using to milk money. As we speak now, we owe the millers 6 billion Kenya shillings for subsidies that they gave out within the 3 months during the election campaign period. We owe oil distributors 29 billion Kenya shilling. They subsidize the oil marketers. Currently, Kenya Kwanza government has managed to register farmers across the country and it's giving out fertilizer at a lower cost. As we speak now, there are programs in process on ensuring how we can create dams to be able and assist us to do irrigation and to be able to do farming and to be able to allocate our farmers with farm input so that we can lower the cost of living.
Okay.
The shortcut to lowering the cost of living that Jubilee government or the Uhuru government was used to was to give out subsidies. And these subsidies was a milking scheme of the big boys that they are still, and one of the things that we need to be open in this country is that the people who have been benefiting in this country, they are finding it very rough to continue milking and benefiting from this country. One, they have not been paying taxes. And we have said categorically that this time round, everybody must pay their taxes. Two, the milking schemes that they have been using to milk Kenyans have been closed. Now they are making noise. And another thing that my brother, like giving out subsidies in the pretense of lowering the cost of living, and yet the big boys are the ones who are benefiting.
All right, okay.
And one thing that we need also to be open with our politics. Yes, I agree that we must do politics, issue-based politics, politics that they are principle. If you believed in Azimio's agenda, why jump shift and go to Kenya Kwanza after the election? If you believed in William Ruto's plan, why are you moving after the election to the other side? Is it because it's forming government, or is it because that William Ruto's agenda or William Ruto's government has an agenda that can transform the lives of Kenyans? Okay. That's where we need to draw the line. And I agree with my brothers, because how do you convince your voters that now during my campaign period, I was Azimio. Since Kenya Kwanza is in government, I'm just moving to government and to be in government. Let us have political hygiene that we can be able to tell the difference between white and black.
All right. So you're suggesting these are unprincipled and self-seeking individuals? Yes.
My brother Wakili, if you cannot judge a government with its 100 days, then you have no moral authority to talk about anything about any government. Within the first 100 days of Kenya Christian administration, when they started after the swearing in, other than this Hustler Fund, which is still questionable, there's no structure about it. Who is in charge of Hustler Fund and how it directly benefits the common Mwananchi? Giving me 500 shillings is not going to assist me in creating any form of business. You're talking about lowering cost of living, and it's unfortunate that you're talking about removal of subsidies. Governments across the world subsidizes government services, government products, to ensure that the cost of living is actually lowered. So when you remove the school subsidy, what are you doing to the parents? The fee is automatically going to increase. Right now, Olive, we are talking about over 200,000 JSS, junior secondary students who cannot be able to transit to junior school. Over 200,000. 2 weeks, is it 3 weeks after it was announced? It is unfortunate. We're living in a country where we have about 5,000 doctors and 4,000 of them are out of work. We're living in a country where millions of young Kenyans have no jobs. And it's unfortunate also that about eight companies that manufacture, deals with flowers are closing shop. 8 of them.
All right, but Dennis, is it fair to lay all of that on William Ruto's doorstep?
He is the president. Everything starts and ends with him. He's the president. And high cost of living, I'm telling you that I don't want to be a prophet of doom, but in the next few years, or rather few days, business will not be as usual in this country because of the high cost of living. We need to deal with it. Okay. If a Kenyan cannot put food on the table and you want to milk the little penny that they have, you know, character is like pregnancy. You cannot hide it. And William Ruto, we are seeing who he is. Even the creation of the CS positions, you will not see any single hustler in that office. Look at what happened 18 days ago. We saw hustlers raiding Mudavadi's home, took television and gas cooker, gas cylinder. Just a few days ago, yesterday, CS Aisha Jumwa, we saw few hustlers going to reward themselves with 1.1 million and few jewelries, which is unfortunate. So we need to have a serious discussion on how to actually create more meaningful, sustainable employment creations and reducing cost of living in this country. Right. Otherwise, this country is going on a wrong direction. All
right, Alpha, I'll come to you, but let me just wacha niibie watu front page ndo tuingie mambo ya maombi. Front page ya Standard. The front page story is the big fight back to save Uhuru's party. Azimio Supremo Raila Odinga fighting Kenya Kwanza's onslaught against the opposition-led coalition troops to reclaim Jubilee headquarters from a breakaway faction bolstered by a tribunal ruling blocking the political party's registrar from effecting National Executive Committee meeting resolutions. And these are the people we're referencing earlier. And I see there are 2 quotes. One of Raila Odinga's, there is an all-out push by Kenya Kwanza to kill other parties, buy and co-opt MPs, and intimidate and bully all those that resist its illegal and anti-democratic maneuvers. And then Aidan Canaan is quoted as stating, we have the third, now this was the day before, at the same, because it was the same, they all held press conferences from the same, spot where the banner is. We have the third biggest party by elected leaders, but they, Azimio partners, mistreated us we shall adhere to the long process to disentangle from the Azimio coalition. And let's now take a look at the front page of the Star and get into Mambo prayers. Why Raila is taking prayers to IEBC door. Tough talking Odinga has signaled an all-out war against a new administration. And then I see here they also have a story about lawyer Gicheru's 6 accounts are empty, estate worth 132 million shillings. Lawyer Paul Gicheru, who was an ICC suspect, did not have any money in the 6 accounts listed in his name. The lawyer of Gicheru's widow has told Justice Riek that all the accounts were checked as directed by the court, but they were empty. Branch managers of 3 banks were ordered to supply the widow with balance statements. More posts for Ruto allies after Quarto KCAS, and Uhuru's plan saved 4,015 babies in the first year. A new analysis suggests former President Uhuru Kenyatta's decision to scrap maternity fees in public hospitals saved the lives of 4,015 babies who would have died between 2013 and 2014. Those who have survived are currently in lower primary school. Interesting pictures there. For some, an airlift, for others, rough road ahead. These are the pictures on the front page of the Star, and the caption is this. It's quite, I guess they're drawing parallels between these young men who are holding up, I suppose, the grades they got in the national exams, and these ones who are being ferried, being airlifted by the Kenya Air Force. And the caption is, needy students march in streets of Kajiado town, appealing to well-wishers to help pay their school fees. Below, students who are airlifted by KDF to Arid Zone Junior Secondary School in Mokowe from Boni in Lamu County, courtesy of Operation Amani Boni. So all these vulnerable young Kenyans in need of assistance. All right, wacha tuingilie haya mambo ya maombi. And Alpha, you had something to add on the previous conversation before I move us along?
Yes, before we proceed. First, I would want to state categorically that our colleagues in Azimio like to politicize everything. You politicize even acts of crime. You see, what happened to Mudavadi's home and to Aisha Jumua's home is not about hustlers. Hustlers are not thieves. Labeling hustlers thieves is ill-informed. Let us just call acts of crime, and it's being investigated, and it's unfortunate. So it's not a few hustlers who went there and CG picked a few stuff. From that, let us have positive criticism towards government. What Azimio likes to do is just lament without any solutions. They just like to lament all the time. They are talking about His Excellency organizing a government in a certain way. They've never given an alternative, and if they gave an alternative, it was just wishful thinking. It was not really something that would help Kenyans. One thing that I want to commend the 4th president is on the Star front page about Uhuru's plan to save over 4,000 babies. That is a big tick, and the Linda Mama program for sure. That is an amazing program. Those are some of the things that we need even to carry forward with the current dispensation in a bigger way, and extend even towards matters of nutrition and how those babies are able to get up to age of 5 and beyond. So that I would like to really commend.
All right, let's now get into mambo ya maombi. Joe, were you surprised when Raila Odinga alisema akaita maombi akaambia wa Kenya tutaomba mbele ya IBC? Sasa amesema wataomba kwenye Jivanji Gardens. Ni gardens ama ni wapi? Ngoja dakika moja.
Yes.
Ni gardens,
Ni gardens.
Aya basi. What did you make of that pronouncement?
I was not surprised because Raila had already indicated that they will be having an issue with the IBC. But what we need to do as a country is that we need to put the matter on the table and iron it out once and for all. And the beauty about this time round is that we have been given an opportunity to see the Azimio government from 2018-2019 up to 2022. Now we are being given an opportunity to see the Kenya Kwanza government. And we saw when Azimio was in government what they did. And what goes around comes around. With this IEBC issue and the prayers that Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga is suggesting to be having, is that the enacted laws about the appointment of IEBC commissioner were passed by the Azimio people. But now the shoe is on the other side. They claim they will not want to see the IEBC commissioners appointed using the same laws. So who is fooling who, or who is taking Kenyans for a ride? When it suited Azimio government, then they appointed the Cherera 4 using the enacted laws. Now there's an opportunity to appoint the IEBC commissioner. They are protesting, and Raila is leading the protest. But going forward, we as a country, through our constitution, in the preamble, we acknowledge about the Supreme Almighty God. So we are a praying nation. 2, in our preamble, we are proud of our diversity, cultural, ethnic, and religious. So we cannot go ahead and start politicizing things to do with religion and things to do with prayers. I hope that Raila is genuine and is honest about the prayers. Let it not turn out to be maandamano. Because, as my brother Dennis is saying, Kenyans are suffering, the cost of living is high, the cost of doing business in this country is high, companies are closing. What we need from government and from the minority side or the opposition side, they need to offer alternative solution. They need to critique and give us a way forward as a government by offering checks and balances. That is their role and mandate that they have been given by Kenyan, but not to cause chaos. You know, by causing chaos.
No, you know,
so
I'm asking about prayers. I just asked, did it come as a surprise to you? Why prayers, Joseph?
First, I want to say that what united us as a country before, the foundation we had in God, we thought it was one of our tenets that will make this country stand. But it's unfortunate that somebody somewhere saw the opportunity and he's using our faith in God to con Kenyans. It's very unfortunate because as you look at this country, we are maybe 90% people who believe in God, the Muslims and the Christians. One day I was looking at the president Cripps, or before the lies degenerated to what they are now, and he was saying that those people who are selling seeds will be registered with the NCPB to go and sell seeds there, not in churches. Those people who are selling water, they will be registered with the Ministry of Water to go and sell it there. But I think with time, he realized that this country, for you to take opportunity, you have to come and take Kenyans like you are a representative of God. That's what is happening with these prayers. And we saw on Sunday, people had to be ferried with buses all the way from Embu to Nakuru for a prayer rally. As if Nakuru don't have people who believe in God. Gilgil to Nakuru for prayer rally. You see, they are doing prayers disguised as they are worshiping God, but they are political rallies. That's why I told you, William Samoei Ruto, the president, is still in campaign mode. And I want to tell me, any country that has ever developed with an act of prayers. We had US, when they had Great Depression, Roosevelt told them, let's have a new plan. What we should be doing right now with William Ruto, he should coming up with plans. When he comes with the plans, he should be telling the pastor and the bishops and the sheikhs, let's pray for these plans. But that is not the case. We had China. China came out of its current the status it was because of the great trip forward that the Mao, the Chinese leader, brought to that country. But we had it was Wednesday when we had a Nyayo prayer rally. We had even a pastor in front of the president telling Kenyans, giving Kenyans pay bill, that Kenyans should pay to the treasury so that we can break the curses of debts. It was on the news. We were watching it. We heard one of the first ladies telling Kenyans that anybody who attended the Nyayo prayer, in fact, nobody attended anyway, will be a millionaire. Anybody who attended will be a millionaire. You see, in fact, when he said that, I saw the president fidgeting because he could not imagine that the people he's leading have come to such low levels. What I want to say about this prayer thing, as a country, we must be very careful because all the dictators, they come, when you want to brainwash people, you brainwash them through prayers. When people are suffering, they think they are closest to God. And Kenya, that's where we have reached. We suffer, you go to church on Sunday and you are told Jesus is coming. That's why you are suffering. I think it's a joke, and William Samoei Ruto should come up with a proper plan and tell Kenyans, this is the plan, pray for this plan.
All right. Dennis, finally, mumeamini maombi inafanya kazi. Prayer works. Has Ruto convinced Azimio that prayer works?
You know, I want to go a bit deeper in this matter. The question is the state under the capture of the church or the church under the capture by the state? Clearly, there should be a relationship between church and state. And church and state, over the number of years across the world, there's always been an existing relationship between church and state. But there also has to be a difference, a clear demarcation between church and state and the role they play with each other. So the nexus between, look at what is happening today. Even prior to the 2010 Constitution, Mr. William Ruto led a no campaign against the Constitution. And this is the time that also the church in this country also led a no campaign against the Constitution based on their own particular concerns of the 2010 Constitution about gayism and inclusion of the Kaddi's court into the Constitution. And fast forward, you saw that President William Ruto, through that relationship that he established in 2010 with the church, continuously from 2017 moving forward, we saw William Ruto investing heavily in church. And I remember categorically, there's instances where he would say that I'm investing in the matters of heaven. He said that most of the time. And it's unfortunate that church should be actually divided into three. We have the Orthodox churches, mainstream churches like the Catholics, and now and even the evangelical churches vis-a-vis the Protestants. How William Ruto created a relationship with these people is that he saw the evangelical churches, and mostly he was going to start up churches without even structures and buildings, so that he can give an image of a well cut out man of God and somebody who started from the lower ranks. And over the number of years, this has actually worked for him. And we've seen the evangelical churches supporting William Ruto. I want to give you another history. 1991 in Zambia, the moment Frederick Chiluba was sworn in, during his campaign time, the entire evangelical churches was campaigning for him. And he established a relationship with the evangelical churches. And by December of 1991, he said that Zambia should be a Christian nation. Kenya is not entirely a Christian nation, because we have to be cognizant with the other religions as well. So continuously, if William Ruto continues to organize prayer rallies and focusing, you know, when he said that he is very happy that the church has restored its place in government, it's so unfortunate. That is a very inflammatory statement, given that we have so many other different religions in this country. for example, you can imagine if a Muslim in future becomes a president in this country and they do what William Ruto is doing today, what will other Christians say? We will feel disenfranchised. So as a president is a symbol of national unity, and as such he should be able to ensure that he should not be able to segregate this. Look at what happened also. He used about 50 million shillings was used.
More than 50.
For the prayer rally. Equally for the mobilization in Nakuru. Kenya should not degenerate into Christianity. Why are we being more religious than even the people who brought this religion into this country? That is not to say that we should not believe in God. Because if I'm not careful, even the Tugeges will think that Azimio do not believe in God. We believe in God. But what we are saying is that there should be a clear difference, a demarcation. The church is supposed to put government on check, on moral authority. And vis-a-vis the government, in terms of freedom of the church, we should be able to put the church on task on how they relate with their congregations. To add on the same, I feel that President William Ruto he is now an image of somebody who wants to, he wants to remain somebody who is a Christian so that he identifies with all these other people. Remember, just a few days ago in Baringo, there's a bishop who said that William Ruto should consider giving them government positions in government. That tells you one thing, that the church is forgetting its place in the society. There's a difference between religiosity and being godly. Being godly is not about showing how you pray in public. Being godly is about following the dogmas and the Christian teachings as enshrined in the Bible. But being religious is what William Ruto is. He is continuously showing the country that he is more closer to God, that they have monotony of God. They do not have monotony of God.
All right, Dennis, but you know you can't know what is in the heart of a man. We take a break. When we come back, we continue the conversation.
To flex my love, I want to impress. Hey yo, what's up, One Republicans? On this week's episode of Teen Republic, we switch things up a little bit. That is why tonight all matters love with the one and only Charisma Luya Hits in studio. This loving is forever.
We'll also be kicking it with Ricky Beats. No stress. Pale studioni pia tutakuwa na Machine Movement Dance Crew as they jam to the tunes of DJ Rick Moore.
I'm Kwame, I'm not sorry, I'm not sorry. Unapologetically black, I'm the new age Kwame.
Teen Republic, in association with Fanta.
What's over? Busy biters, get down to snack business. When snacking is under attack, we'll be there to fight back.
My name is Sogoti James, General Manager Commercial, Nation Media Group. I'm excited with the forthcoming Season 2 of Man Cave. Finally, men's conference come in the name of Man Cave to discuss the plight, opportunities, strengths, challenges of the man and their real place in society to transform and offer great solutions for the men and the bigger society as it were. This time it will be held in Tigoni, and I will be attending the event, and we invite all men who think their place of prosperity is here. And now let's come and celebrate.
February is the month of love, and this February we've got an amazing activity for all the singles who are ready to mingle. It's going to be an afternoon full of good vibes and awesome activities from speed dating, sip and paint, charades, karaoke, and so much more. Get to enjoy live music from Hardware Band. Catch the Season 3 Episode 1 live recording of the Joyrides podcast. Mark your calendars for February 18th right here at Ansana Gardens from 1 p.m. to 10 p.m. Get your tickets on Kenya Buzz today. That's www.kenyabuzz.com. XOXO, get ready to mingle.
She's my lover, lover. She's my lover, lover. She's my lover, lover.
Welcome back to AM Live. And before we took the break, we got into this conversation, a praying or praying nation. And this question arose on account of Raila Odinga calling for prayers on Wednesday, and on account of the Valentine's Day prayers at which for which actually the presidency called on account of the drought situation. Alpha, I'll invite you to comment now. Dennis and Joseph have highlighted the kinds of problems the Kenyans are going through. Is it perhaps a case of the situation is so dire, we now need spiritual intervention?
Thanks, Olive. First, without any apologies, we were prayed into victory. And whatever prayer brought through, it will sustain. It doesn't mean that we are not working. I have not seen yet a president who is working seriously on plans and on actual meetings as His Excellency William Samoei Ruto. Very energetic, passionate, and he means well for this country. What people are not realizing is that we got into this situation through compounding mistakes and decisions. That's how we got here. So you don't blame His Excellency for where we are at. We all agree, whether you are in Azimio, whether you are in Kenya Kwanza, as young people, we agree the situation is dire. We are in a tough place as a nation, the high cost of living and everything else. But prayer combined with work is going to get this country out of the bad situation that we are in. Let me say this, the national anthem is anchored on God. I'm not talking about being religious. Being godly, Kenya is a godly nation. That one, no doubt about it. And when you see his the leader of opposition, Raila, following suit and calling for prayers, if prayers never worked, why are we even praying for IEBC? It doesn't matter the position, whether we will be in Jivanji or IEBC offices, but Azimio leader is also following suit.
So you welcome these prayers? Yes,
prayers are working. Now let me mention something. I've heard him, one of our colleagues here has mentioned about the Chinese. You know, Chinese are not, they believe in other things. It doesn't mean that they don't work. They work really hard, they're extremely hardworking, but they believe in other things. So Kenya is a godly nation. Don't compare us with the Chinese and everything else when it comes to matters of
I tend to think the point you're trying to make is that religion, is it Friedrich Nietzsche who said that religion is the opium of the masses? When you want to oppress people, yes, you perhaps, Joseph, you'll explain it better.
What I was saying is this, Kenya is being funded by atheists and pagan nations like China. People who believe in work ethics, where corruption is not an option. But Kenya, a person who was caught with a scandal is on Sunday in our interdenominational prayers with William Samoei Ruto, saying, praise God, amen. And
but did God come for the sinners?
God came for the sinners, but they are going to pay. The sinners, if you are going to make a mistake, God does not interfere with your actions. You make a choice as a human being. If you want to be oppressed as a Kenyan, you'll be oppressed. You can even vote a thug, and God will still mean to be God. God does not give a damn who you vote. So what I'm saying is this: these pagan nations, they don't believe in God. We believe in God. In fact, the other way around, we should be the ones funding those nations because of believing in God, because God should give us an advantage. But it is the other way around, because to them, God gave them brains and they are using it. Look at Israel. I tell my friend, God gave them an arid land. Those people never wasted time with praying for rains. They used the God-given brains and the resources to build dams and drill boreholes. And now Israel is exporting horticulture and other food stuff. Okay. Kenya, it's a highland. We are praying for rains that God has already given us. Is it madness?
But the problem we are facing is that those rains are not coming. Maybe tumefanya madhambi nyingi. Maybe madhambi ndo nyingi ndo hatuna nini, hatuna mvua. But Dennis, I'll come to you because
just a second. Do you know that the president has a lot of authority? Other than convening national prayer meetings, what in real sense are political rallies disguised as prayers, in Nakuru that prayer rally took about 5 hours, and 1 hour is where the church really were given attention, and 4 hours or about was about politics. So what I'm saying is that the president has the ability to call the nation and the church to pray without necessarily calling for a rally. He could attend church, urge other interdenominations to also follow suit wherever they are, as opposed to calling rally and spending of 50 million unnecessarily. Remember, this country, we have 4 million families that are stricken by drought. People are dying because of hunger. This is wastage of resources and misleading the country.
Okay.
Just a point.
Joseph, in a second.
In a second. What I want William to do, we are not curtailing him from praying. If you want to pray, he can pray from morning to evening. But what I want him to do, let him go and come with a plan that will going to change this country. Let him bring the plans to the bishops. Let the country pray for the plan.
All right.
But what are we praying for?
Oh no, but okay, Joe. Are these two suffering from selective amnesia? That being Dennis and Joseph.
Do you know that the president signed an MOU with the evangelical churches?
What is on the MOU?
For what?
Yes.
For what?
Did sign
an MOU for what?
Yeah. Building churches, doing what, involving them in government.
As William, he signed it as William Ruto.
The Kenya Kwanza government.
The Kenya Kwanza government.
As you know, in his personal capacity,
yes,
he can donate to whomever he pleases.
No,
but back on, I want to bring us back to the question, and it's still related to the topic. I agree. But Joe, I'm asking: are these Joseph and Dennis conveniently forgetting what is on page 3? Of the Standard, and the story here is that 6 billion shillings has been set aside to cushion starving Kenyans amid drought. Population facing acute food insecurity currently stands at 4.4 million. Report paints grim picture of overall deterioration of food security across 23 ASEAN countries. The number is expected to reach 5.4 million by June. A new report shows. You know, this tells me that Kenya Kwanza is doing something other than praying.
Yes, that's what I was trying to insist to my brother Dennis and my brother Joseph. But what I wanted to highlight is what Dennis has said, that President William Ruto signed an MOU with the churches. Yes, he signed an MOU with the churches. And Dennis needs to know that the church in this country is a biggest shareholder in education sector and the health sector. And you need to bring the churches on the table when you're talking about the health sector and you're talking about the education sector.
But so, he sort of divided, like he talked about the way we have
yes, there are bishops,
the established ones such as the Catholic Church, and nobody disputes how much the Catholic Church has invested in health and education. I think even the Anglican Church has done the same thing. What he's referencing is the evangelical churches.
Even the evangelical churches nowadays, they have come up and they are doing the same. They are doing the same thing. to invest in education and to invest in the health sector. On other issues to do with religion, I would not like to debate them because I'm not an expert on religion matters. But also my brother needs to know that the interventions that the Kenya Kwanza government has put in place, one, my brother Joseph needs to know that Kenya Kwanza government was elected in position of government because of the plan. And we sold our manifesto. And even if you are very keen, if you saw the photos at Nyayo Stadium, one of the items that were there at Nyayo Stadium was that manifesto. The plan was there. And the bishops prayed for that manifesto and prayed for that plan. But that does not mean that we should go back and sit and wait for prayers to work. We need to continue working. We need to continue having matters to do with how to improve, how to reduce the cost of living in this country, and how to be able and help the citizen, and be able that the government can be able to deliver. One of the things that the government can be able to deliver and reduce the cost of living is to invest in agriculture. And the president has been categorical. And if you followed his speech in Dakar in Senegal, he said that his government has set aside and is putting in place money allocated to create dams and drill borehole that can be able to help us irrigate. The other day the president was in Galana Kulal. Galana Kulal was killed by Azimio government, and it was planned, the Azimio government had planned to distribute that land and allocate squatters. But the president has stopped that plan. Galana Kulal will go to its original plan of irrigating and cultivating the 20 acres of land so that we can be able to generate food from that area. Okay. So there are plans and intervention. As we are speaking today, farmers are getting fertilizer at a lower cost. In preparation, when the short rains come, they can be able to cultivate and plant their crops. We are talking about the removal of subsidies to the millers who are giving us subsidized flour. But we are not saying that the subsidies for other farm inputs are not being given. We are just removing the ones that the cartels were using to milk money, the subsidies to the millers, but we are subsidizing the farm inputs, and we are cautioning the communities or people who are at a lower level by allocating the 6 billion, which is going to help the drought areas. Okay.
Joseph, how different are the prayers that William Ruto called for and the ones that Azimio is calling for?
The Azimio we are calling for prayers. We are not calling for interdenominational prayers, and we are not paying for anybody to come for our prayers. But
inside here, Raila Odinga said interdenominational.
Even if he said interdenominational prayers, the interdenominational prayers that William is doing, on Sunday we saw people coming all the way from Embu with buses.
It's okay, people can travel where they want in this country.
It's mobilization. They can travel if they want to travel themselves. But you, as a president, you cannot mobilize people to go all the way from Membu to Nakuru for prayers.
Why not?
Nakuru people already themselves.
Maybe they requested. Maybe they requested they want to be part of the prayers in Nakuru. And they simply facilitated.
You see, this thing about prayers, we are talking about excessiveness. Yes. You pray yourself, I pray. Everybody else prays in this country, whoever who believes in God. We are talking about the excessiveness. We had our prayers on Sunday, praying for our country. We had prayers on Wednesday, I think on the Valentine, praying for our country. We'll have a prayer this Sunday, another interdenomination, praying for our country. Let me tell you, have you ever seen a president going to West Pokot for interdenominational prayers? No, have you ever seen? Have you ever seen? No, have you ever seen? But he has been in Kiambu more than 10 times. Even he has been in Nyandarua more than 10 times. He has been in Kirinyaga more than 10 times. Let me tell you, have you ever seen him in Baringo doing interdenominational prayers? It has never happened. He usually does the interdenominational prayers where he thinks he has masses of the people who usually have the capacity to vote him next time. It is a campaign strategy. And those people who are doing the prayers maybe in Nyandarua, because the other day he was in Nyandarua doing prayers, I want to tell them that now they should call the president again to pray for the Mau Mau Road, which William Samoei Ruto has stopped. It was 50% complete. It has stopped. I want to tell those people who are calling William Samoei Ruto for prayers in Muranga, they should call him again for the 3,000 kilometers of road, the Kenol dual carriage Marwa. He stopped. William Ruto, what he's doing in Mount Kenya region, if you look carefully, because this thing you have analyzed, places that is infested with the people from the Mount Kenya region, that is where interdenomination prayers are done. And the other day you saw even people in Mount Kenya asking, where other regions we have development, their projects are not being stopped, but in Mount Kenya, more than Yagosho. We cannot allow that. If it's a prayers, let them take to West Pokot, where we have real bandits. Let him go to West Pokot and pray for bandits.
Alpha, Dennis, please allow Alpha to respond, because he's about to fly out of his chair.
Hold time. So I respond? Yes. Good. Now, my friend, you know, Azimio, you're not telling us the importance of the prayers that your party leader has called. All you're doing is poking holes on the prayers of the president, or what is organized, maybe, or what the president attends. This propaganda that prayers are only held in Mount Kenya, prayers are only held in Nairobi, I don't know where, that is purely malice. Recently, as a president, we are not talking before the elections, as a president, he has gone to Baringo, he has gone to Bomet, he has gone to Kirinyaga, he has gone to Nyanyuki, that is Laikipia, we have been to Nairobi, recently Nakuru, and we are going to go to all the 47 counties. And each and every other Sunday, you are going to see us in church. So there we have no apologies. Tell us about the importance of the Azimio prayers by your party leaders, and not really talk about Kenya Kwanza, because ya Kenya Kwanza haujui. Now, let me talk about something that could be of importance to the young people, because we come here and disagree on so many things and leave here without something that maybe is a solution. The involvement of young people in agriculture, and not just agriculture. Let us demystify this thing of having boards under the agricultural sector or boards under trade being headed by our senior citizens or the retirees. Let us now have young people on board, because last week we had the Agriculture and Technology Summit, and you could see the amazing talent that the young people are having in terms of solutions that could lead to sustainability in food security. That is a big plus. And I want to challenge now my government now, because we have other forums that we channel our inputs and they've been listening, but we want to see it in action, that involve young people in some of these critical committees. Let us have young people, not see a coffee board as hiyo sasa ni board, they are over 60s and retirees. There's a lot of money in the coffee sector, there's a lot of money in the dairy sector, there's a lot of money in tea, but what have we done? We are discouraging young people. Recently, I looked at a photo in State House of Federation staff by Atwoli, by Mzee Atwoli, a man that we respect. However, if you look at the combination of people who attended the State House meeting, it's just over 50 plus. It's 50 plus. Are we saying that we do not have young people who are pro workers and who support, who can be mentored and also be part of some of these meetings? So that is something that we as young people need to have unity of purpose towards that. So that when we leave, this forum, it's not just entertainment and sideshows and political sideshows. That we have something that those who are watching, because I know they are watching, and yesterday I talked to someone to watch today. Let us think on the position of the young people in society right now. Sisi sio viongozi wa kesho, sisi ni viongozi wa saa hii. Kama kuna viongozi wa kesho, those are our children. Not us.
And I want to open up the floor now, given you've raised even the question of banditry. A lot of other events happened this week. We saw Machangi's home raided for CCTV footage. Dennis, you wanted to say something on banditry, and I will open up the floor. I just wanted to look at the comments, some of the comments that have come in. Unfortunately, they appear to be leaning on one side, and there's really nothing much I can do about that. But I have a duty to, given I invited them to comment, let me just share their comments. Okay. This is Devolution Watch. He says, or she says, the hungry and overtaxed hustlers will cater for the CAS. Let me zoom in. Is that okay? Is that clearer? There we go. The hungry and overtaxed hustlers will cater for the CAS's huge parks and allowances, guzzlers, bodyguards, imported office furniture, business class flights abroad, tens of millions in health insurance. Well, there is no money for ECD teachers and unemployed doctors committing suicide. That is a Devolution Watch. And scrolling down, please pay attention that I'm not jumping anything. This is Edwin Mureithi. Let me zoom in on what he has to say. I've gone too far. Is that okay? Yes. Kenyan politicians are scum. Are cut from the same cloth, all are the same, they just hide in different forests. As much as it's okay to increase the NSSF contribution, was this the right time? And with the amounts passed, does Ruto really know what the people are going through down here? Let me see if there's anything else that has caught my attention. I'll need to check the NTV Kenya handle. This one is mine at O Burrows. This is Evans Mwanzu, who says it is Nabii Ruto who has captured the evangelical churches for his own selfish interest of silencing the people. He uses these greedy pastors to rebuke anyone who tries to be critical. He wants people to sing praises and tell all critics to be patient, since this is a godly regime. I think that was the last one I had seen. So you have a few minutes to send your comments through. If you're of a different opinion, I will read them out. But gentlemen, I will invite you now to comment on the other national issues.
I rejoined on what he's saying.
But please, in a minute each.
In a minute. He's talking about the Kenya Kwanza government has no place for youths. He's in Kenya Kwanza government.
Don't speak on my behalf.
He has said that Kenya Kwanza government.
He says your interpretation of his comments is inaccurate.
Okay. Yes. He was saying that when the State House that should give the youths some of these positions and opportunities, maybe in agriculture or something. What I want to tell them is this: that Ruto has no business with any young person, has no business with Mwamboga, has no business with any border rider, and up to now, they themselves they can bear me witness. If it was Azimio, Raila Amolo Odinga, he had already cut out that 4 positions, cabinet positions, were going for the youth. So if it was Raila Amolo Odinga in government, right now I could be a cabinet secretary as a youth.
But who surrounds Raila Odinga? Which youth do we see surrounding Raila? Dennis, you say yourself.
I really want to take a different approach to this. I want to concur with what Captain Maura was saying earlier on his last statement about the place of youth in this country. Young people are very industrious in this country. We see creative industry growing very fast. We see young people waking up very early. Even as we speak now, if you go to Mudura, what is it called? Mudura Market, Gikomba, young people are all over this country trying to make ends meet. So my only plea to the government is that we should be able to take a bipartisan approach to bequeath the young people of this country a nation that they will be able to be proud of. Young people need job opportunities, and we are pleading to the conscience of Mr. William Ruto that he should be able to create job opportunities for young people. Now, that aside, we did not elect donors in this country. We elected political leaders that are supposed to govern this country. The management of the drought crisis, it's actually very funny because we are over-relying on donors. What we need is a permanent solution for drought crisis in the 23 ASAL regions.
But isn't that what Joe tried explaining, the fact that there's an investment in subsidizing fertilizer? The Kenya President William Ruto keeps talking about the building of 100 dams, big dams, in addition to other smaller ones.
I agree. Actually, I support the initiative. I'm not criticizing the government. I'm actually saying this is a very good move, but what we need is a permanent approach towards this. Because we cannot live in a country where 4 million families every year goes through this. We need a permanent solution. We have members of parliament, when they're discussing increasing their salaries, you will see full house in parliament. This is a national crisis that we need a bipartisan approach towards. We need all government sectors, departments, everybody coming on board to ensure that we have a permanent solution towards the drought crisis. Fast forward, I think we need to really invest heavily on agriculture, especially in those regions, and also to comment on the banditry. This has been a menace for so many years. Remember way back during the what was this called? The massacre that happened in Wagala massacre. Remember also what happened in Mount Elgon. Yes. What continuously and incessantly happens on the north region of this country. These people feel completely marginalized. When you are in Marsabit and in those sides of Pokot and Lodwar, they do not feel as if they are Kenyans. What we are urging the government to do, even as they are involving the security apparatus to move swiftly and effectively to curb this banditry menace, we are requesting the government to start opening up the regions of the northeastern and the North Rift, so that they can start concentrating on issues of education, business, opening the roads, markets. These people need to be educated on the importance of going to school and not only just rearing animals. And also we need to invest heavily on technology. We cannot be in a country where we lose young police officers, young security members of this country to banditry. Remember the other time, it was I think in Mount Elgon or where, about 46 police officers were ambushed and killed. We need to protect our police officers. We don't need to take new recruits to that place. What we need to do is we can also invest in security, where we send drones in that region to survey the area to ensure that we have a multi-sectoral approach towards fighting banditry once and for all.
Okay.
If you move from Lodwar to Lokichar, those places, they are out of this country. They do not feel as part of this country. So the government, even as they've sent the security apparatus, we are requesting their conscience that they should not also just go and they use the scorched earth policy of military tactics, where nobody is innocent, they beat everybody. We are requesting that also, as the police are included, they investigate and they follow, so that our military do not ruthlessly attack these people.
All right, I'll count that as your concluding remarks. The rest of you have a minute each. Joe?
Sorry, we are all in agreement that the young people in this country must be given an opportunity to sit on the table of decision making and be able to be mentored. And my suggestion to my brother Alpha is that I think it's high time that the young people within Kenya Kwanza should push for at least half of the CAS position, since the court has accepted. Half of the position of CAS should be given to the young people within the Kenya Kwanza, who can be able to help and assist the Kenya Kwanza government to deliver on its mandate. And another issue on parliament. The last parliament failed Kenyans terribly, and it's only the judiciary which saved the Kenyans under the Uhuru government. It is high time that this new parliament and this new legislation should help Kenyans in matters to do with checks and balance, and to be able to check and criticize and offer solution to the government, so that we can be able to move forward. On issue of banditry, I'm happy that the narrative has changed. Initially, Kenyans were used to be told that Pokots were killing Marakwet or Turkanas. This time round, let's just call them bandits. It's nothing to do with a Marakwet or a Pokot.
Okay. All right. Let's hear from you, Joseph.
My closing remark is that President William Samoei Ruto should let Kenya be. He's wasting a lot of time in trying to kill Jubilee Party and trying to show that he's the man on power. He should make sure that let the church be the way it is. Let it be a place of worship. Let it not be a political arena where people go and exchange verbs for politics. Let him not feel happy when he's muzzling independent institutions like the DPP and other institutions that Ushindi Tupu. You are winning against who? Thank you.
All right, your concluding remarks, and actually there is a lot of comments on the banditry issue, the deployment of KDF on Twitter. Alpha, your last remarks?
Yes, let me mention something about the banditry, and I believe, and I would concur with my friend here, Dennis, that opening up these spaces is the only long-term solution towards solving some of these insecurity issues, because once the place is still enclosed and there is no much activity going on, that's where we give room for the devil. Number two, on the issue of young people, my friend Joe has said that we should lobby for half the positions of the CASs to be given to qualified young people. And there are a lot of qualified young people who are able, who are passionate, but not just CAS. Let us look at government as a whole, the departments, the boards and everything else. Let us have that unity of purpose, and not just Kenya Kwanza youth. When a youthful member wins, we all win. I can't say that the Azimio young people do not have something to bring on the table. They can bring their ideas, and we can be appointed. They can bring their ideas, maybe because of the loyalty things. And number three, let me on my closing remarks on the Star front page. You see, it's shown the boy child with the placard, the boy child. Yeah. And then I don't know the thoughts or the idea behind. And then the girl child is being airlifted. You see, the boy child, the space of the boy child in this nation, the boy child needs to be protected.
Okay, the girl child you're seeing there is being forced to be airlifted because of insecurity.
No. I'm just reading through that the boy child.
Yes. The boy child. Give you your final remarks.
We still have 4 minutes.
No. 2 seconds.
My final remark is I want to plead to the members of the country that you should be able to attend the Raila prayer meetings that he is called for, because electoral reforms and electoral justice in this country is something that every country, every member of this country need to have a discussion about. I'm predicting a future where in the next election we will have the biggest political apathy in this country that has never been seen. Remember, in this election, 8 million people did not vote. And you can imagine, if this trend continues, we'll be in a situation where people will abstain voting. Okay. So we are requesting members of the public to join this conversation so that we can be able to set for prosperity, to ensure that this discussion around IBC is finalized.
All right, thank you very much. My panelists this morning have been Dennis Mbanda, who spoke last, political analyst Joe Halende, who is a lawyer, Joseph Chege, very fiery fellow. I enjoyed your contribution this morning. Youth leader Azimio, as I did yours, very passionate as well. Alpha Captain Moira, youth leader Kenya Kwanza. I will leave you with the editorial cartoons from the dailies. My name is Olive Burrows. Good morning.